Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Circle of Wildfire Druid build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. So, the Wildfire Druid comes from D&D, and it's a pretty cool subclass. You can't fully do it in this game, but I came up with an idea to make it kind of work. So, the Wildfire Druid is all about, burning things down to recreate life. So, we're going to obviously keep Shillelagh, or Shillelagh, some people pronounce this differently, so this allows you to give yourself your spellcasting modifier for attack rolls, and it imbues your club. You can do this on a torch, that kind of fits on theme, so you can do it with a torch, it'll get that 4 to 10 bludgeoning, plus a 1d4 of fire damage. Thorn Whip's also quite nice, but you can go produce flame if you want something a little bit more on brand. As for ability score makeup, this is where it gets a little bit dicey, because we are using multiple different things here, so we want to have a good amount of constitution and dexterity. Our strength and charisma are kind of the stats that we can take a little bit less of a care with. So 16 dexterity will give us a nice little boost to our armor class, and initiative was what we want. We do need a bit of intelligence as well, so we can go 14 intelligence, 16 dexterity, 12 constitution. Something like this works well. If you got the hag's hair, you can take your wisdom to 17 and then add it +1. But we're going to go with that there. So I'll be going over the gear and everything near the end of this video. We got some cool flame blades here to really make this a fiery build, but I'll be covering all of that near the end. Now we get to choose our subclass at level 2, and we're obviously going Circle of the Land. This is more of a caster version of it, and the Circle of Wildfire is kind of more on the caster side of things. So we get all our wild shape forms here. The spider, the bear, or the spider and the wolf are kind of the two best, I would say, to go with. Spider actually can make a bunch of webs and you can light them on fire, so that fits on brand with it. We're going to go with Produce Flame because it's a fire spell. And now for our the spells we're going to select here. Healing Word's a huge one to take because it's a bonus action heal to pick up downed allies. Thunderwave to push back targets is quite nice. Fog Cloud is great for crowd control, and it can blind people. You can go into a cloud and sneak too. Create Water. We'll take this because Destroy Water is so useful, but you can also set up your Storm Sorcerers too with that. And then Long Strider for increased movement speed is quite nice, or Entangle. This will create a vine surface, slowing down creatures and possibly entangling them, and we can light it on fire. So we're going to go with that for our level 1, and at level 2. At level 3, we get to choose our first Circle of the Moon. Now, or Circle of the Land. There's a few good ones, because we can take things like Hold Person. We normally can't get Hold Person from our, or I guess we can, yeah, my bad. We can't get Misty Step, it is, right? Let's see here. Misty Step is the one that we know. Yeah, Misty Step we can't get from that. So there's some that will give you things that you normally cannot get. Things like Melf's Acid Arrow and Darkness, pretty nice. Web and Misty Step is kind of the one that I like because you can put this on fire. So this fits the fire build pretty well, as well as Misty Step is a nice get out of jail free card. So we'll take that. And then for our next level spell, Flame Sphere just makes full sense on this build. And so does Heat Metal. Spike Growth is really nice too, so you can take off Create Water to do that. And Moonbeam's quite useful too, because you can actually do Moonbeam and have Sanctuary on yourself and just keep moving around the Moonbeam and not take damage. So that's kind of nice too. But you can go with any of those there. If you really want to, you could also go with you can also take the Swamp if we want Darkness, because you can't normally get Darkness, but Web and Misty Step's pretty good. Web you could start combat off with that, but we're taking the fire spells obviously, so we'll go with those two there. Flame Spear does require concentration, so that's one thing to remember. For the next level cantrip, Resistance is nice, 1d4 to saving throws or guidance. You can increase the ability checks. And then Flame Blade makes sense, but I got a permanent version of the Flame Blade there. I can show you how to, in the description I'll be showing you how to do a permanent Flame Blade, and you can make 2 of them that deals an incredible amount of fire damage. But I think Spike Growth or Moonbeam are kind of the best ones. Moonbeam, you can kind of think of it like a Fire Strike, like Sunbeam maybe. We'll use that to roleplay with. Spike Growth is nice though, just to stop movements. And you can also use this to deal a little bit of piercing damage too. So you can go with that or Moonbeam. And for our feat, there's a couple that we can go with. You could take Spell Sniper and get increased critical hit chance and then take Firebolt. But I think it's best to go with an increase to our wisdom, and that's just going to allow us to prepare another spell. So we get our improved Wild Shape Strike here in level 5, and we get to pick our next circle. Now we could go with Haste and Sleet Storm. That's quite a nice one, but Even going with like a vampiric touch can be kind of useful. I like the mountain for lightning bolt. That's just a super useful spell to have in general. But we're also going to be able to get ourselves, I guess call lightning's one that we could possibly get, but I don't think that's the best choice for it. There's some of these that aren't amazing because we can choose call lightning as our spell choice. So grassland gives us haste if you really want haste, but I think that getting haste from someone on your team is probably like a sorcerer that can twin it is probably a better choice if you want to go that route. I honestly think that going with the mountain's the best because we get lightning bolt. So if water happens to be set up, we can use lightning bolt, and kind of lightning creates fire sometimes, so it works with this. But lightning bolt is just huge damage, and we also get fly, so that's fun to move around with. Now, for our next level spell, we want to take Call Lightning, because that's just a super useful spell. If water happens to be set up, we can blast them with that. And Plant Growth. Now, if someone's knocked prone, if you cast Plant Growth on them, they're stuck prone. That's really fun, because it quarters movement speed, and someone needs 5 meters movement speed to be able to get up, so that can be quite synergetic. Now, level 6, we get ourselves the difficult terrain, no longer slows us down, and we also get the Panther and Owlbear form, so pretty big power spike there. Sleet Storm's nice to upset concentrations, but it doesn't fit on the theme of this. I didn't take Hold Person. I meant to take that earlier, actually, so we'll go with Hold Person, because that is a massive spell. Giving critical hits on attacks within 3 meters is really nice. We get to pick our next Circle of the Land here, so Conjure Minor Elemental can be kind of fun, but that's another one that we can just pick from there, so not super essential. Wall of Fire, however, fits on this theme perfectly, so that's one that we could potentially go with, and Greater Invisibility is another nice spell. I really like that, but we're going to go with we get ourselves Blight, which is necrotic damage. It can do extra damage to plants. Wall of Fire, it's crowd control, but it's damage. It does 5d8 fire damage. And as for the next level spells that we're going to take, we can take off Spike Growth and take Conjure Woodland Being, because they can cast Spike Growth for us, and it requires concentration, so when they do it, we don't have to think about our concentration. And then also the Minor Elemental, we can get it Nazir, which is a fire little golem dude. So we can take that. It makes it pretty interesting. Grasping Vine actually got quite a buff too, so this can summon a vine and pulls enemies towards it as a bonus action. That's kind of nice as well, but at level 8, we get to choose our next spell. I like Ice Storm, but it doesn't fit with the theme of this build, so we're going to go with Grasping Vine. And for our feat, there's a couple ways we can go about taking this. So we can go with something like, again, I mentioned Spell Sniper and giving yourself increased critical hit chance on your cantrips, which is fun. Warcaster gives you Shocking Grasp as a reaction, and you have advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration. Also quite nice. You can go with the Dual Wielder perk and take 2 Flame Blades for extra fire damage. But I think that taking ability improvement to take our wisdom up just makes probably the most sense. Or taking alert for the +5 to initiative. Both of those are great options. But for our next circle, we got, I really like Cone of Cold. It does not fit the build whatsoever, but it is an incredibly fun spell to use. So we can also go with the Insect Plague there. That's one that's possible to take. A few of these give Conjure Elemental, but it's tough because there's only a few spells that are like super, like ones you can't get here. Like Cone of Cold is such a great spell. Now it doesn't fit with the Wildfire Druid, but it's just such a good spell. 8d8 of cold damage that can be doubled and create water, so 128 damage max. Really nice, and it hits in a cone. However, Cloud Kill's another choice, gives you the poison damage, which again, not fire, but we don't have any options here that give us fire. Our fire spell will be Conjure Elemental, as funny as that is. But yeah, we got Cloud Kill and Contagion if you want. This is underrated because you can use this outside of combat and possibly inflict a condition on a target. I'm going to take the Circle of the Arctic, but if you want to go with more of something on brand, you can go with like the Circle of the Swamp, getting Insect Plague and Cloud Kill. But this is kind of like, sometimes it's nice to have be the master of all elements, so we're going to take that. And Contagion's kind of a cool spell too. And for our spell slot selection, Conjure Elemental, obviously. That's just a fire elemental, makes the most sense on this build. And then Insect Plague is not a bad spell either. It does piercing damage, creates difficult terrain, and gives disadvantage on perception checks. So we'll go with that there. And then for our next level, at level 10, we get our 3rd strike in on our Wild Shape form. We also get Nature's Ward, can't be charmed or frightened by elementals and fey. Disease and poison no longer affects you. And we get the Dilophosaurus form. That's fun. We also get another cantrip, so take whatever you want for that one. Doesn't matter a whole lot. And then we get to choose another spell. Mass Cure Wounds is okay if you got gear to set it up. Confusion's quite nice as well, so we'll go with that because you can actually shut down a group of enemies, kind of like Fireball. And then for level 11, we get ourselves the max leveled spell, which Hero's Feast is nice, but little pro tip, you can have someone at your camp cast this on 3 of your teammates and have that without even using your level 6 spell slot. Wall of Thorns is actually underrated. Create a wall of pliable, twisted thorns surrounded by entangling vines. That can be a pretty decent choice. Sunbeam just makes sense because it's radiant damage, but it can be thought of as fire damage. It blinds all creatures, and you can recast this each turn every single without expending a spell slot. Heal is nice because it can give you a kind of a get out of jail free card button, but also you can use this on the Dark Urge to get some cool dialogue. Windwalk, not worth it. So Wall of Thorns or Sunbeam, depending on what you want. Wall of Thorns is kind of a funky one. I think that this is cool. You can also get, if you have the Ballast Armor, this is doubled, so that's upwards of 112 damage, which is nice. But Sunbeam just fits the theme of this build, so that's what I'm going to take there. And it blinds targets. Now, for level 12, we can take another feat and get ourselves another spell here, but I actually think that the best choice is to add in the Wizard, because we can add in this and prepare any spell that we want. So we did miss out on some spells that we want to have. We'll take Shocking Grasp and Firebolt and Minor Illusion to group enemies together, but you can also go with a Mage Hand if you'd like that. Now for our prepared spells, we're going to take Chromatic Orb, that gives us a fire spell. We're going to take Find Familiar, because you can make crows that can blind targets. And we want to take Shield as well, so we'll take that. And Burning Hands does fit the theme of this build, so we're going to go with that. So we'll take Grease to set up fire, make some people go prone. Burning Hands for the fire damage, Magic Missile. And for the ones that we're going to prepare, these Chromatic Orb, Burning Hands, and Shield would be the most beneficial, I would say. This gives us a fire damage spell, 2 fire damage spells, and Shield, which is just incredible. So you could also go with the Circlet of Intelligence if you want. That'll give you the option to just, I guess, cast it without, or you can dump your intelligence in that case, and then we just have a higher intelligence. We can prepare another spell. But if not, you can also go with the Hood of the Weave for +2 spell save DC and spell attack rolls. That's really nice. I think that's probably one of the better choices. But even the Pyro Quickness hat will give us an extra bonus action if we cast a fire spell, which can be quite useful. I'm just going to put that on for the purpose of showing off what this build can do. We can take a Flame Blade with a shield. Now, if you make a permanent Flame Blade, that's upward to 44 damage. Like, that's crazy with your main hand attack. Considering we're not someone that's going to attack often. That is with a Strength Potion, I might add, because it just gives us a crazy amount of damage. I also got the Helldust Gloves. This gives us additional 1 to 6 fire damage on weapon attacks. And we get a +1 to spell attack rolls and spell save DC. And we get Rays of Fire, so another fire cantrip. Armor of Landfall. Now, you don't need to go with this. This gives a +1 to spell save DC. And it gives you additional 1d4 health when you stand on a vine or plant growth surface. And advantage on Constitution saving throws, which you also can get from the Amulet of Greater Health. So this isn't actually the best in slot. You can actually go with something like the Ballast Armor, because if you went with Wall of Thorns, this will double the damage that you deal with it, +2 to initiative as well, which is really nice. So that can be an option for you. I like the Ballast Armor. It gives us a nice 24 armor class, but there's a few other options that you can go with. We're not proficient in like really any armors, just medium. So we could go with the Unwanted Masterwork Scale Greaves there, which Scale Mail, which gives us the resistance to fire damage, making it make sense on theme. And we also add a full dexterity modifier to the armor class. So it's an option. Armor of Agility is always an option because it just has a great defense. So you can go with that. But yeah, we got the Flame Blade there. As for the rings that we want to go with, I like having Create Undead for the free level 6 Undead spell that you get. Pretty useful. If someone should always have that equipped. And even just the Ring of Protection or the Ring of Regeneration for increased armor class or heals. We have a nice 26 armor class there. And we didn't even max out our dexterity. So if you want, you could even add in the dexterity gloves to give ourselves 27 armor class. But I like the extra fire damage and spell save DC. So yeah, the way that we want to go about this, so we're going to summon in our Minor Elemental. And we'll go with the Azure here because this just makes sense for fire. So that's a little fiery dude here. And he's got a Searing Smite, Weakening Strike, Backbreaker, Concussive Smash, which this is a good one because you can set up your whole person if you daze the target and it loses their dexterity bonus to armor class. And they also have the Overheat there, so any nearby creatures start burning fiercely, so you can just burn everyone there. So that is an option. We also get the Woodland Being. I really like the Woodland Being because this gives us another summon, so we can summon them in. And then they can summon someone in. They can also do Spike Growth, so they get their Fallen Lover. They also give you poison resistance in the area. So that's 2 summons right there. That's quite fun to have. Now, we can also add in like the Marka Heshkir Staff if we want to be able to cast some spells. Or even the Staff of Spellpower, geez. And then we can cast in a free Fire Myrmidon. So free casting is a nice way to not use up your level 6 spell slot, and then you can still use something like your Sunbeam. So the beauty of the Fire Myrmidon is they actually get haste. So this here is the Myrmidon's Immolation. They can haste for 3 turns. They also get Scorching Strike, which can possibly burn the target. Kind of nice. They have funny attack animations. It's the swinging of the arm, and I think it's kind of cool. And the Cinderous Smite strike there. So they have a couple of ways to deal damage like that. Pretty good. It's kind of like Burning Hands almost. Deals in a big area of effect, which is kind of nice. And then they also got the Haste, Fly, and they can teleport. That's one thing with all of these is they got the ability to teleport. Always use Scorching Strike with this. Never use the main hand attack because this just deals a bit more damage. So that is one of the nice things about it. Missed. But Cinderous Swipe is kind of like your Burning Hand spell. So that is one. But once you get combat started, you can start with Insect Plague to kind of lock people in place, or Wall of Fire for a crowd control option. And then Burning Hands is nice because it deals a pretty large ring of damage, so you can hit there. Another thing, you can even just go and learn your spells from scrolls because you got the Wizard added in. So we can add ourselves in, like, you can learn Firebolt if you want to prepare Firebolt, even though we already have it from the Wizard. But you can prepare Scorching Ray, and so Scorching Ray, we'll add that because it's a fire spell, and then Fireball as well. And Fire Shield is another one that you can learn too because it just makes total sense. Circle of Death, like you got anything. Even I'm a huge fan of Globe of Invulnerability. That's a huge one to learn. So then you can just go into your spells here, and you can prepare them. So we got ourselves all these fire spells. Fire Shield, Globe of Invulnerability is just massive, and Find Familiar is fun too, or even like a Chromatic Orb because you can turn this into a Fire Chromatic Orb. We also got Flaming Sphere as a concentration. This is early game good damage. But Fireball and Chromatic Orb are kind of like the most fun ones. So you can drop a nice Fireball, or I guess a Fire Chromatic Orb there. Doesn't do as much damage as some of the other spells, but Fireball is kind of like the bread and butter for area of effect damage because it just, you can see what it does. It does a massive amount of damage. And then you can use Sunbeam for like a huge, if you need to blind a bunch of targets, that's a good way to do it. So you can just, oh, I dropped a Fireball on myself. Yeah, Fireball is just obviously a fun spell. And then you got Lightning Bolt if you got people in a line similar to our Sunbeam. Or if people are set up with Create Water. You can also web the ground, and then you can see there it turns to a fire surface. So that can be fun to play around with. And then you can also use like Thunder Wave to push people back into it and keep them in the damage. And then even go with like something like your Insect Plague to lock people in place. And then they take damage as they're moving. I hope that was an honest mistake. It was not. And then you can just drop a Fireball on them. So this build is quite fun, and you got lots of options for damage because the Wizard allows you to prepare whatever kind of spell that you want and then just deal a ton of damage with it. So we're basically burned up all of our spell slots there, but yeah, the beauty of this build is it does a ton of damage, and you got a lot of cool options to attack with. So that is my favorite part about this build, is the amount of damage options that you get. The Circle of the Land Druid is a lot of fun. So I encourage you to try out this Wildfire Druid. If you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.